Alright, sorry. Thank you. So if you guys are up and Alright, you guys all up and running? I know Toro is. So, hopefully my mic doesn't cut out. We'll just talk about the big talking point first, and then we'll do the flying tasks. So your big task for the procedural ranks is you're selecting landing zone, pickup zone, and holding area reconnaissance. So basically what that comes down to, it says basically using a map recon, a photo recon, or a visual recon, determine what's a good LZ and provide accurate information for that. So what that comes down to is when we look at every LZ, we look at the tactical, technical, and meteorological conditions of that LZ. So tactical, that's basically what can this LZ do for me. So if I'm trying to deploy troops and I don't want the helicopters to give them away, maybe it's going to be a couple miles away and away from people and things. And generally what we try to do in air assault is stay away from the enemy so we don't get the helicopter shot up, let the ground guys form up and go attack. So if it's too far away and they get too fatigued, or they won't make the mission in time, or if I'm too close and it's going to give them away, we're going to get shot up. I'm going to look at my security considerations, like how close I am to the bad guys, the key terrain, high-speed avenue approaches, roads, all that kind of stuff. That's the tactical. Basically, is this a good LZ to do what I need to do? So I want to go raid a village, then, I'm not going to go put it on the road on the main village. I might put it miles away or up close. But that's tactical, just a common sense look at it. The technical is how do I approach this LZ? How many aircraft can I fit in it? What kind of obstacles do I have in it? The formations, surface conditions. So is it dusty, slopey, stumps, that kind of stuff. And then finally, meteorological, which DCS we don't tend to do as much, but ceiling, visibility, power performance. Is it high up in the hills? Is it in if I have to recover from that LZ, am I going to get exposed to enemy weapons, that kind of stuff. So here it's a nice clear day, so we're not too worried. But if the ceilings were pretty bad and the weather is bad and the LZ's up at a couple thousand feet, then it might not be any good. So it's a lot to remember, but just kind of remember the common sense, tactical is really what's this LZ going to do for the mission. The technical, how many of my aircraft can I fit in it? Is it sloped? I have a lot of high trees around it, and the meteorological, is it way up high? Is it going to eat up a lot of power and all that kind of stuff? So for practical, we can go to our F10 maps. So if you can look up on FH85, which is just to the northeast of here. And if you turn on the labels, it says construction site. You got that, Toro?
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of cool tools that DCS kind of gives us now. Our normal map kind of lays out trees for us. So you can see the shape of the LZ. I can pull up my measure and I start measuring out the LZ, just general long axis. So 1.2 kilometers by 0.12, excuse me, by a 0.5. So it's 150 meters or 120 meters by 50 meters. LZ used to be a lot bigger before DCS updated it, FYI. I can go into satellite view, kind of get a look at it. Same thing, kind of shows me the trees are, gives me that long axis from the north east down to the southwest into the winds. I get the width, I get the length. I can go to the satellite and altitude the satellite kind of shows me, okay, there's buildings around it. We have roads, so roads we could have wires. Shows me trees. Most of those trees didn't used to be there on the northeast end, so that kind of constricts us. Another big thing I can do, so in the top left corner of your map where it shows coordinates, it also shows you altitude. So my stuff's in metric, so mine shows 100 meters on the LZ, right? And you guys see an altitude, it's going to be the last digits of
Yeah,
the
mine's in feet. I'm about 331 feet.
There you go. So what I do is I move back and forth along the LZ, and I kind of see what kind of difference I'm looking at. So if I know the LZ is 50 meters wide, and I'm getting about 3 meters, so 9 feet, and about 150 feet. So I just moved along. So if I move along this LZ, it stays within about 3 meters of itself for yeah, for pretty flat. But now if I went up into the mountains and moved it, you'll see I'll go from like 640 meters, and just within just in a little bit, dropping into a valley, it'll drop 100 meters. So I use that tool to help determine how flat the LZ is. Let's see here. Anything else good in this LZ? So yeah, so realistically, yeah. So then we want to look at how many aircraft we could fit in here. So we determined it's about 50 meters wide and about 120. So doctrinally speaking, an Mi-8 needs about a 50-meter square. We can land a lot closer to that, but we plan about a 50-meter square. So we could fit, per the rules, probably 2 Mi-8s in trail in that tight little spot. I'm thinking we could fit 3 in a staggered formation. And the Huey also has a big rotor disc, about the same. We could probably fit 3 in a staggered formation. And we would approach from the northeast into the winds coming along the village. So that's what I would do. So the mission here would have been, I believe, is to go rescue a guy that got hurt at a construction site. So we don't know much about the site, but all I know is they gave me this little field to look at, and using my photo recon and my maps, I've determined it's pretty flat. It's got a long axis. I can fit about 3 helicopters in there. And and they will complete my mission goals. I think that'll work well for us. The other thing I like to do is when I zoom out, and this is kind of, sorry, I zoom out a little bit and then I try to figure out how I'm going to get there. So what I'm doing is now I'm gone back to just my altitude map, and I'm looking from where I am to where I'm going. So we got a couple rivers that run up this valley. It's definitely a valley. Trees. We got a big city here that goes all the way, and then it breaks into a big field until it gets to the field or the city where our objective is. So I know I'm basically gonna head northeast. I can follow the main town if I want. I got these rivers as a border, so I'm not gonna cross any rivers. And then I have a road that runs almost into the LZ. And then when you look at it,
Lost you.
Sorry, it cuts out there on that mic. Our TeamSpeak auto cuts out. But basically, I'm just gonna follow along the. Yeah, it's the damn TeamSpeak. But so that's the basic stuff. I like to set up a picture of how I'm gonna nav there, or scan the LZ, figure it out, and then I set up how I'm gonna nav there. So let's see here. What else can I show you guys about getting there before we head out there? There's also FM homing there. So Tori, you know how to set up FM homing in your
yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the Wounded Engineer, it's on frequency 32. Huck, do you know how to set up FM homing on the 8? Channel 3. Just remember to turn on your ARC UD as well. So when you guys are ready, set up your FM homing. I'm going to demonstrate how actual FM homing works. And then I'm going to go to a different slot here. So look at your F10 map, kind of figure out your routes to get up there. And you're going to head up to that LZ, try and find the LZ, and then we're going to talk about high recons and low recons. Okay, narrow, you got your 828 radio set to compass. And then you're not going to get a signal right now, so keep that in mind. You guys won't get a signal yet. I'm going to demonstrate it. Same with you, Toro.
I don't need to do anything to turn the OBS on in the Huey, right?
Nope.
It's on, period, right?
So what you're going to get is that swing for your FM homing, is a needle swing.
Right, it's been such a long time since I've done FM homing. Yeah, I know one of my needles is going to swing, and it's my horizontal needle, correct?
Yep. The one that's hanging vertical on your ILS gauge.
Oh, the vertical needle, okay.
Yeah. It's going to give you a left-right. You just got to have your radio set for homing.
Yeah,
and the frequency.
32 megahertz.
All right, and then look at your guys' route, and then when you're ready, just take off and start head that way. You can do it staggered and whatnot. No, you can do it individually. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, just do a diverse departure. I gotta go make sure something's unplugged. I'll be right back. Alright, I got Toro lifting up. Heading that way. And there's no bad guys on the map, so you don't have to worry about getting shot. Generally. I mean, I could turn some on, but they're not on. So VFR navigation, it's really about looking at the big things. So you have a little more altitude, you guys kind of planned a route along this town and all these trees, and you're just kind of following the big stuff to navigate where you are. So how FM homing is actually supposed to work, it's not meant to be a constant signal. Anytime you transmit, you risk kind of getting found out or the enemy finding you and that kind of stuff. And also, that's one of your communication radios, so you don't want to just have somebody blasting on the frequency the whole time. So what it is they initiate a short count. And a short count or a long count, that's basically when they talk to 5. They count up to 5 and they count back down. Now for Huck, for you to be able to hear this, you have to have your radio selector set for the 828 radio. But I'll initiate a short count, and what's going to happen is the signal's going to come alive, and you're going to get a heading indicator. You then take that heading indicator and you look at something in the distance to fly towards. And then, unfortunately in DCS, the needle locks, but in the real world, the needle would die and swing away. So you're just using this to get a bearing on where you want to go, and then kind of get a pick something in the distance to fly to our heading. So let me request a short count. I'm going to activate all the radios. And short count. So you guys' needles should be coming alive.
Mine's not. Mine's dead.
Try it again.
Negative here.
Let's see. What did I say that freak was? 3-2?
Roger.
Well, I'll have to see if DCS broke something. Well, bummer. That was working before. There it is.
Me either.
Alright, so Huck, you have to have let's go back here. You have to have your radio set for your 828 has to be on. It has to be in compass mode. Your ARC-UD, when that short count goes, ARC-UD is probably giving you a green light right now. How about now? All right, ARC-UD has to be on, and yep, narrow and channel 2, and you need to be in compass and 3. Okay, you could try that, but any channel, don't go to channel 2. When you set your, when you set that 828 to compass, it overrides the ARC-UD, so every channel should have a light. So that's on the right panel. So power switch and then compass, and then you load in channel 3. And then you got to remember to look. It's only going to appear on your pilot's compass, so you have to set that to ARC-UD. And then Toro, yours, you won't get a sound, you just get a needle swing. You have to make sure that thing is keyed all the way, like put it to TR for me. Put your FM radio at transmit receive.
I've got to switch to retran home right now.
Yeah, go to TR for me.
I'm on TR.
Alright, you're on channel 3-2. Are you getting any signal?
Yes, yeah.
Alright, now put it to retran home. And it's going to swing that bottom vertical needle, your ILS needle. That should have snapped up.
Yeah, I bet I don't get any deflection, but I'm assuming that I'm sitting in the LZ. Is that correct?
No, you fell a little, you're short.
Yeah. You'll
Go
learn
ahead
real
and,
quickly that navigation's my weak point.
No problem. And then Huck, for you had to set that needle, only the pilot's needle to ARC-UD.
But I did not get any deflection.
Okay. It's not going to be the 2 needles on your HSI either. Not on the Huey. For you, you got to be only on your pilot's HSI, and you got to set that to ARC-UD. I think it toggle it right. Like under the pilot's compass, there's a toggle switch, and I believe, yeah, isn't it the pilot switch? So the co-pilot compass only points to the ADF, but the pilot, if you flip it to the right, that's the ARC-UD. So let's see if we can get a signal here. And it should start swinging. You're in narrow, and you're channel 3. You gotta hold down that white button to get channel 3 to come up. And you're on compass and all that. So Toro, all right. So we'll ARC-UD. But So as you're coming up, you'll notice you're coming up over. You got a road out the right side. Now it's kind of leading into the village with your LZ, right?
Roger.
So keep following that road. Huck, your LZ is going to be out your right door. So just go ahead and come around and do a left orbit. Remember your LZ is kind of on. Yeah, either or. It's really off your 6 right now. So the LZ was in the trees on the right side of the, or I'm sorry, the south or the east side of the village. So what I would do is I would fly along the trees on the. So Toro start coming right a little bit, and I'd fly along kind of that field going along the edge of the village, looking down to see where the LZ is. So Huck, it's going to be on the opposite side of the village from you, and I'd kind of fly along the edge of the opposite edge of the village, back and forth till you find the guy. Turo, you're looking good. Yeah, the opposite edge. So Toro, jump into your left seat, hold your head in, jump in the left seat, and look down. You should start to see an LZ. So see some crap down in here. Right out your left door, 10 o'clock.
Roger.
Alright, so Toro, you got the LZ. Don't lose it. Just kind of go into an orbit. And we're going to have Huck come on in. So Huck, you're going to jump to the right seat. Hold your head in. Alright, hold your altitude here. There you go. That's your LZ. Don't land in it, though. Alright, so go into left orbits. So, on the way in, you find out, hey, this guy was wounded at a construction site. And there's construction material and all that kind of crap in here. So what you guys can do is, Toro, you can come back in down on the LZ. Huck, you just go into a wider turn. Basically, you guys can do a high recon, low recon. So, it's not necessary for you to do a high recon, but what you want to do is come in the direction you want to fly into, or want to land in that LZ. So LZ is off to the left, so if you guys kind of go into left orbit, you're going to come in on that long axis and just come in at like 50 feet, 100 feet, and just get a good look at the LZ. And you do that, and you're going to try and figure out the winds, you're going to look for any big obstacles, and just keep circling until you get an idea of, hey, what way do I want to come into the LZ? So the LZ is off to your 9 o'clock there, Toro. So cut in hard left. And just start flying over it from different directions and identifying your obstacles. And things like poles, towers, trees, long axis, equipment, wires. And then when you're ready, there you go. So, and then when you guys are ready, just go ahead and make your approach into that LZ. Keep coming forward, Toro. Keep the speed above ETL. Come a little right, Toro. No, you can see it. You're in the right seat. I'm sorry.
Flying over it right now, right?
Yep, and that's it. And so you just want to get a good idea. And then in mountain school, we actually do a mock approach. We come down to like 20 feet, but keep our speed up and do it. Here, that's not necessary, but so go ahead and make a turn, and we'll let Huck head into that LZ. So in combat, recons aren't necessarily practical or easy, but they are doable. So if I'm doing an air assault, I'm going to plan a lot. I'm going to set up RPs, I'm going to get a lot of information, and I'm just going to make my approach. If I'm a QRF or a medevac, man, I might have to show up to an LZ, do a quick look at it, do a quick spin over it, and then make my landing. If I'm QRF, something like that, I might have to really get a good look at the LZ and commit. So you can see some of the obstacles in there, Huck. Got some trees, you got a crane in there. And Toro, as he's flying in, just do a couple more approaches and you figure out how you want to get in. Go ahead and you can land in the area behind him. It's a beautiful landing. Cool. That's because I don't have the altitude set up. And then just hang out in there once you're in there. And then Toro, just
Sir.
come on in whenever you're ready, when you're comfortable and you think you got a good idea what everything looks like. Watch those trees. Good. Alright, there you go. Anywhere in there is good. Watch the crane. Made it through the crane. Okay, so let's F2 ourselves.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah, I don't know if it's winds or what. When I came in, I just started sliding to the left.
So if
That's probably my crappy piloting.
It's a tough LZ. So now F2 the LZ, or go hit F2 on yourself and look around. And then you can look at the F10 and the F2, and you can see the F10's pretty close to what we're getting. You got a slope from left to right. 3 meters. That's actually, what do you guys got? Probably, Huck, you probably got 5 degrees? Less, good. The size, the distance, everything looks pretty accurate to what we predicted. And so when you looked at that on the F10 map, like, it seems a lot smaller than what it was. If this crap obstacles weren't in here and you were farther up, you could probably fit 4 helicopters in here. But if you're using the rules about 50 meters and all that stuff, you can't fit as many helicopters. But the map recon, the altitude, all that kind of stuff gave you a pretty accurate picture. Let's see. Now nabbing here, there's some key tricks. So hit F2 and kind of zoom out and look straight down. You can see your LZ is right on the edge of the tree line, right on the edge of the village, just like in the F10 map. Shit, I can't F1 myself, sorry. So, if you look around, you got the river, a river down to the, off to the east, that runs all the way from the airport region over here, the big fields, and then you kind of got this road that runs into the village. So what I would do on something like this, when I know I'm looking for an LZ right on the edge of town like that, I would fly on the edge of the town. I'd measure and say, all right, if I skim right over the trees on the edge of the town, and I know the LZ is about 50 meters over to the left. So you can see I'd follow that. I'd use that road as a barrier, that river as a barrier, and then I'd fly along the edge of the town. And I know it's not very deep into the town, and so I could set some boundaries. I'd say, hey, man, I'm going to fly about 10 seconds into this town, or couple hundred meters, and then make some orbits to try and find this LZ. So it's just about orientating yourself and looking for big things. So trying to find a small little field in this giant mess, that's a lot of work. But knowing, hey, that small little field's right on the edge of the LZ, and I got some big things to help navigate me and guide me. So I use big things, and then I work my way into little things. Buildings and DCS, they're all on the map and they're accurate. So at the edge of your LZ is 2 large square buildings that can help you. So I might fly along the edge of the town, and then heading to the north, and then when I pass those 2 buildings, hey, I know my LZ's there. So don't get too wrapped into little things. Look for big things and then narrow your search down. But so that's But basically, the tools in DCS can do a really good job of picking out an LZ for you using those measuring tools. So when you do your wings, I'll just pick an LZ and say, hey, tell me about it. And you'll tell me about it. And then you'll fly there. You'll do a quick recon. Hey, I got some stuff in the way, or there's some wires here, but I'm going to make my approach this way, and then you're just going to land. I'll ask you about technical, tactical, and meteorological, but I'm not going to ask you to tell me about all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to say, hey, if your mission's to put troops in, like, what LZ would you use and why, and what can you tell me about it? Like, so don't worry about memorizing all that stuff. Just have a common sense approach to picking out a landing zone, and then measuring it out and saying, this is how I want to approach it. So just keep it all very simple, because simplicity is key to military operations. Otherwise, we'll screw it up. Alright, let's head back to the airfield. And, yeah. For you, Huck en route, actually, do you have a key to turn off your SAS? Yeah, your stability system? Alright, I know what it is. Come forward, Toro, and out.
I think I'm stuck.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I can see visually. I'm like my tail boom's through that crane.
I won't let you out. Looking for my keyboard command, sorry. It's a pain. It's left Windows, left shift, alpha. Yep. But left Windows, left shift, alpha. And the little green light should go out. Alright, just fly back to the airfield with that guy off.
That's always fun.
Yep. Toro, did you make it out?
No, I'm stuck. I'll
Alright.
pick another aircraft.
Yeah, let's grab another
I
aircraft.
could see when I was in F2, I could see my tail boom's through that crane.
Why do I keep getting a Huey? So many chats. Oh no, all the noise went away. Oh, never mind. All right, I'm back. Alright, what's some other tasks we can work? We can do rolling and running landings. We got auto rotations. So we could try auto rotations.
Okay.
The Huey, the auto rotation is it yeah. I gotta pull it up from. So the auto rotation for the Huey, you're gonna be at 80 knots, about 1,000 feet. What you're going to do is you initiate. You're going to try and get, for both aircraft, your steady state factors, which means aircraft's in trim, the airspeed's where you want it, and the rotor RPM's in the green. Not too fast, not too slow. So for the Huey, you're going to enter at 1,000 feet, lower the collective, get the airspeed about 80 knots, doesn't have to be perfect. And you want to maintain that 80 knots, even as you're coming towards the ground. Once you hit about 100 feet AGL, you use aft cyclic to begin a decel. And you're transferring that descent into, wow, yeah, you're transferring that airspeed into arresting your rate of descent. And then at 15 feet, you want to level the aircraft and put it, and then use your collective to kind of level and cushion the aircraft. So you're coming down at about 100 feet, you're using cyclic, and it takes practice to time how much you want to use. You don't want to pull too much cyclic where you climb. You don't want to not pull enough where you slam to the ground. But the key is for both aircraft is maintaining speed. So coming down to that 100 feet, people tend to decelerate. Once you get rid of that forward speed, you lose the energy to arrest your rate of descent. So speed allows you to arrest your rate of descent.
So I should just do the auto rotation just by dropping collective, because I usually cut fuel.
No, you could you can cut the fuel. It just takes a while to restart. For your first couple, can you chop or go to idle?
Yeah.
Yep. So just head around and start doing patterns. 1,000 feet, just practice entering, lower the collective, chop the throttle, getting that 80 knots, getting down to that 100 feet, flaring, and then timing that flare. The big thing is not holding the flare too long and then settling and smacking the tail. Let's see here, I need documents. Your Mi-8 essentially is the same thing. Exactly the same thing, except for I lost my ATM. I'm having a breakdown on where the hell my ATM went. There it is. So for you, it's also says 80 knots, and I believe I'll give you the cape. This is based off the Americans reboot or switch the avionics out on the Mi-17s. And actually, I wrote it down. I've already done the conversions. So at 30 to 40 meters, you're going to do your decel. And you're going to maintain 150 kph for your descent. Alright, let me get back in my riff so I can see what's going on. For your, you can start at 1,000 feet, so whatever, 300 meters. So you guys can just do right-hand patterns coming up to 300 meters or 1,000 feet. So the Huey and the 8 can both auto-rotate at slower speeds, but you will get to a speed below a point where you won't be able to arrest the rate of descent. So you basically, when you're coming down, you're only using collective to maintain rotor RPM in the green, because you don't want to overspeed the rotor, because you'll start to fall even faster. And then when you flare, you're trying to arrest your rate of descent just using airspeed, not using collective. The only reason you pull in collective is because when you flare, you're going to build up rotor RPM. Alright, and then you can do it to the runway or to the ground. The ground, you might bust up the aircraft, doesn't matter. And you have those weapon racks on there, so definitely want to maintain 80 knots or 150 kph. And then you have a high inertia rotor system, so for you, probably be the Mi-8's pretty forgiving. So is the Huey. Alright, 30 to 40 meters, start a flare. Flare only enough. There you go. Flare, flare, flare. Keep flaring. Alright, now cushion level, push the nose down. So you're going to hit a little fast. So you want to flare enough where your rate of descent where you stop going down. So you flared a little, but you kept heading towards the ground. Toro, you can come around and come back around for the runway. Okay. You definitely want to hit on some concrete. So if you were in an empty Mi-8, that flare probably would have arrested your rate of descent. But you're in a heavy Mi-8, so it kept pulling you towards the ground. So it's a fine line. So I flare and I'm like, not enough, too much. Like really just using the cyclic to arrest my rate of descent, and then I hold the flare to get myself decelling. And I want to decel myself down as much as I can. And then if I start sinking vertically, that's it. I gotta level the wings and cushion the aircraft. I want to hit tail low. I don't want to smash the tail. And you don't have to do full giant patterns, Toro. You just want to snap it around and come around and do short little patterns, whatever you got to do to, that way you don't spend too much time in the pattern. Yeah, you can turn now, Toro. Just do a 180 and head down the runway and initiate another auto. Alright. Whenever you're ready. So generally where you auto-rotate is where you're going to land. So keep your speeds up, both of you, until you're at that point of flare. So begin your flare aggressively, more aggressively. There you go. Ride that thing out. Keep decelling. Now use your collective. Put your nose down. Sorry, Toro. Keep going. Keep that speed up. Now decelerate. Ride that decel. Nope, nose down, nose down. Go Toro. So you don't want to flare too high because all of a sudden you'll find yourself decelled and a long ways to go.
Yeah, that's what I use. That's what usually happens to me.
Yep. So look for that 100 feet, and then the Huey's very forgiving. So if you decel too hard, you'll actually climb. The Mi-8 with those gun pods on, you can see how much when you finally pulled in that decel, she stopped. Like she stopped falling and just slid across the ground. So if you do that, and then if you do it aggressively enough, you'll actually get yourself down to a really slow speed where you just kind of just all of a sudden you're gonna be decel, and then she'll start to fall, and you just level and cushion and just set her right down. For the Huey, we practice that where we basically plant the aircraft. So we decel real hard and then get it to about a 0 airspeed, and then you plant the aircraft. Because if you landed something soft and it snags you, it'll flip you right over. Planting the aircraft's hard on the aircraft though. To watch it break a tail boom off a Jet Ranger. But if you're landing on a runway, you'll just slide down the runway safely. But if you're about to land in something soft, you just gotta keep that decel in and then just plant the aircraft.
Yeah, I know when I was in, they used to always use pegs to do autos.
They use what?
Pegs.
Really?
Yeah, the ones that were close to going back to depot. They'd always use the crappiest aircraft we had. I mean, obviously all flyable.
Yeah. And then autoing into the wind, that always helps you. What you guys are doing. So if you need to make a greater distance, so like Huck, if your engine failed right now and you need to go a greater distance, you would increase your airspeed on the way down. So you go to 200 kph. Understand you're going to fall faster, but what that does is when you decel, you're going to travel a lot longer. So if your airspeed's higher, and then flare, 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 watch your tail, there you go. Now hold that, and because of your high speed, you're going to ride that a lot longer. And then cushion. Oop, there you go. Now if you want more time in the air, then you'd be a little slower. But so if you had to clear those trees, you're like, I need to make it to my farthest point, you're going to increase your airspeed and you're going to fall a lot faster. But what it is your decel is going to take you a lot farther. So you could have ridden that decel even farther out. You just need to flare more aggressively early because your tail was only a few feet from the ground. Yeah. You just got to be a little more aggressive because it looked like if you don't flare, yeah, just keep that flare in. If it's not wasting your rate of descent, then you just keep pulling. Because the idea is not to use any collective or limited in these aircraft. Some aircraft you use some and whatnot. Alright, Toro, get your speed up. I'd say do about 100 knots. Keep that speed up. That way you can get the maximum amount of drift. Alright, turn on what you're doing. Whoops, I did something. Alright, your speed's getting low. Just keep it in. Keep that speed in. It's got to be above 80. Or 80 and above. You're probably down at 50.
Yeah.
Which means when you go to flare, you're not going to have anything left, and you're going to use all collective. Which in a Huey, you have. In a light Huey. Alright, so try that again, but you want to keep that 80 knots up all the way till you're at the point where you want to flare.
Roger.
Alright, do a tailwind one, Huck, and you're going to see the differences. And just go down the runway. This direction's good. Straight down that runway.
Get out of your way.
So now you have the wind's going to be pushing you along the ground, so you have a higher ground speed, and you're going to hit a lot. You're going to hit faster unless you really flare. Keeping that speed up, that's good, and then just give her a... Wait till you get to that 30 to 40 meters, and then give it a good decel. Keep it up, keep the decel in. And now hold that. Just ride that down there.
Looks good.
Now level. Level, level, level. Don't use your collective so much. Level, and just roll her in, just like that. But that flare will last a long time. Like, you could just ride that thing down. Now, in the winds, you probably would have been about a 5 knots slower. That looks good. I like that. The next thing you could try, Huck, is just really do it into the wind and really flare and try to get yourself down to a really slow speed. Toro, anytime you're ready.
Roger.
You can auto out here if you really want. Well, there's trees there. Your cargo hook light on? I didn't even know we had one of those. The Huey.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's in the cargo hook. Huh. It's part of the nav lights, but it's definitely a cargo hook light. Anyways, go back.
Over torqued.
Nope. What did it, when you touched it? So when you land to the grass, the Huey plants. And then what happens is if the aircraft rocks forward and you pull the stick all the way back, and then it rocks back and you push it all the way forward, basically it causes the rotor to snap off. It hits mass bumping.
Right.
All right, that's all. So when it hits the ground, either you kind of got to ride it out and hope you don't flip, or just avoid making really big cyclic inputs.
Roger.
Speed's good. You got a high speed in. Which means you're going to travel a long ways to get rid of that speed. Keep that flare in. Just keep riding it. Alright, now you're going to have the cushion. And there you go. And you touched down about 60. So still over your speed limits, but if you're trying not to crash, it doesn't matter. That was good. It's 50, but it's really for non-emergencies. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. If both your engines fail and you land at 60 kph, I don't think anybody's going to give you too much crap. Now, for your running landings, that's a challenge. Because basically that speed limit's right where the airspeed indicator craps out. So if you want to move on to your running landings, There's two different approaches I've been taught for running landings, like coming in really shallow, low power, or high power, where I'm coming in shallow and I touch down and I'm doing about 100. And I think we can do aerodynamic braking in an Mi-8, I believe. But, or you come in steep almost like an auto and then you flare and land. Those are the two different techniques I've seen. And the advantage of coming in like an auto, not quite as aggressive, is if the engine fails, my other good engine, then I'm in a condition where I can auto rotate, maybe save the aircraft. The traditional way we're taught is to come in really shallow and just line it up like we're power hungry. And then the downside is if the engine fails, you're going in. But I would try both. The key to any running or rolling landing is getting the aircraft straight, and that is hard in the Huey because of the sight picture. The Mi-8, some reason guys don't have sight picture problems in the Mi-8. I think it's because the console's right in front of you, just the way it looks. Yep. Yeah, it's basically get the aircraft straight down the runway, touch down straight, and you got to be less than 50 kph. For the Huey, doesn't really have a speed limit. Anything above ETL, and I recommend you guys touch down above ETL because that's the point. For the big aircraft, we do it for power limitations. For Huey, you're gonna do it for like a stuck pedal, and that's hard to teach. So right now, and then the running or rolling landing is the only time it's one maneuver you can come out of trim early. So you want to push in a bunch of left pedal and get yourself lined up. Yourself lined up, you have the whole runway, just keep hitting left pedal though, because you're a little crooked. And then you want to be less than 50 kph. So that worked, but with the way you had to decel and all that, that could have been a pretty power-hungry maneuver. Try doing a real shallow one, just nice and smooth. You can probably do it at the end of the runway. Just take off, get some speed, and then just kind of come in real shallow and just kind of kiss it in.
I'm going to try another auto into the grass.
Roger, searching for it. Just remember, keep your speed up because you need to be able to decel. And I'm going to try and demo an auto here. No, sorry. You just have to F2 and look down the runway. It was my fault. Well, the problem is they don't let me turn off the map without restricting the views. So I'll try and do it down the runway. Okay, I haven't done an auto in a while.
Same thing.
Yeah, here, I'll watch you do one in the grass here in a sec. It's going to be hard because the aircraft's going to try and rock, so you have to just not jerk the cyclic around. Yeah, I'm in an 8. Alright. Crap. My voice activation. So the hard thing with the 8 is when the engines fail, it kills the stability. So I've reinitiated that, and I lost my radar altimeter when the engines actually fail. So I have to kind of know what my altitude is. Ground speed gauge probably went to crap on me. My speed up. hot. I can really ride this thing down to 0 airspeed. And I'm just gonna cushion. I was a little high. But you can really get the airspeed down if you can ride it. But there are some faults with doing actual autos in the Mi-8. You lose stability, which when the rotor comes back up, you can re-engage, but your radar altimeter goes up. So, yeah. You gotta eyeball it. So those trees, they're far away, but tree height, you know, that's a good time to start flaring. So yeah, you could try one where you actually kill the engines. Alright, Toro. You use auto there, or you just happen to land there?
No, I just landed there because I forgot to turn on my radar altimeter.
I gotcha. Alrighty. So first thing you know is a yaw. And your RPM went down. So the big thing is, aft cycling will build your RPM the fastest. But then you have to immediately transition to get your speed up. Alright, get that flare in. There you go. So you were screaming towards the ground. Keep the flare in. Oh, you're losing rotor RPM.
Generator 2, failure. Generator 1, failure. Generator 1,
So,
failure.
little things happen differently when the engines are off. Same basic principles, but you do lose stability and you do lose radar altimeter. The Huey, you actually get a proper needle split. For some reason, they don't do needle split unless it's an engine off. And what that is your engine RPM will drop, rotor RPM should stay up. But we don't, DCS didn't model that. Only if the engine went off, not if the engine was running. So you got a heavier aircraft now, Toro, so the key is just keeping that speed up.
Oh, I didn't realize I've got a gunship. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Just arguing. Going over some stuff with somebody. You guys have probably practiced running landing. Running landings, you got running takeoffs. Those are actually hard to do because it's hard to tell your speed. So you tend to bust the speed limit. Slopes I hate doing. LZPZ. Hovering. I just work on that kind of stuff. Go over some more stuff later. I gotta get caught up on something here. But yeah, practice those, selecting the PZ zone skills, navigating to it, all that kind of stuff.
Generator 2 failure. Generator 2 failure. Generator 1 failure. Generator 1 failure. Generator 2 failure. Generate.
God damn it. Fuck. Oh, okay. This is ruining DCS for me. Alright. Yeah, that's probably all I have today because I don't want to burn you guys out. So the autos, guys will spend a lot of time practicing on. But tomorrow I'll be busy on and off throughout the week. It's I got a mission, and then my wife's baby showers this weekend. So hopefully I'm around to fly.
I will practice.
But whenever you guys see me online, just hit me up. We can do some training.
Cool.
I'll be back in a few minutes. Yeah.